Welcome everyone, join us today as we delve into the life and achievements of Gary Puckett, the legendary frontman of the Union Gap, and one of the defining voices of the 1960s. So let's dive in. Gary Dale Puckett, born October 17, 1942, in Hibbing, Minnesota, United States of America. Born in the birthplace of Bob Dylan and baseball legend Roger Maris, Gary was 5 when his family relocated to Washington State, settling in Yakima, a community famous for its apple orchards. Not far from Union Gap, the town's name would later inspire the name of his most successful band. He also spent part of his childhood in Twin Falls, Idaho, before the family eventually moved to San Diego, California. Music was part of Gary's life from the very beginning. His father sang in barbershop quartets, while his mother played music in church, surrounding him with melodies and harmonies. At the age of 6, he began piano lessons, though at first he preferred chasing garter snakes or playing baseball. His outlook changed dramatically when at 12 years old, he saw the film Blackboard Jungle. The movie featured Bill Haley and the Comets song, Rock Around the Clock, and like millions of other young people of the era, Gary was electrified. From that moment on, he knew he wanted to be part of rock and roll. Gary attended Twin Falls High School, graduating around 1960, and soon afterward moved with his family to Claremont, a San Diego suburb where he remained until the early 1990s. He briefly studied psychology at college in San Diego, but dropped out after 2 years to pursue music full-time. By then, he was already active in the local scene, performing with high school and college bands that mirrored the R&B sounds of the day. His first notable group was the Ravens, an 11-piece outfit complete with horn section and backing singers, that played at local dances and Battle of the Bands competitions in Balboa Park. Although money was scarce with so many members, the Ravens built a reputation as one of San Diego's hottest live acts. When the lineup eventually slimmed down to a 4-piece, Gary on guitar, Bob Salisbury on saxophone, Bobby Brown on bass, and Roger Nepple on drums, they kept their momentum going. In 1964, Gary and Brown were approached by Yale Khan, owner of the Quad Room in Claremont, who invited them to form a new house band for the venue. With drummer Tommy Kendall, the trio became known as the Outcasts, holding down a 2-year residency that packed the club with enthusiastic crowds and gave Gary invaluable experience as a frontman. During that time, the Outcasts recorded rare singles, I Can't Get Through to You, in 1965, and Runaway, in 1966, which enjoyed local airplay, helping bring Gary's voice and presence to a wider regional audience. As the Outcasts evolved, so did their lineup and ambitions. New members joined. Willie Kellogg, Dwight Beman, on saxophone, and Kerry Chater, on bass, came into the fold. The group changed names from the Outcasts to Gary and the Remarkables, continuing to play locally, refining harmony-style showmanship and growing in professionalism. Eventually, Pete Carrio was replaced by Paul Wheatbread on drums, completing the team that would become Gary Puckett and the Union Gap. In January 1967, after performing under the name Gary and the Remarkables, the group officially became Gary Puckett and the Union Gap. Gary recollected that one night in Seattle, while staying in a 2-room house and talking about the band's identity, he thought up the idea of Civil War-era uniforms for stage. He was fascinated with that imagery, and it became part of their essential visual identity. The name, Union Gap, was chosen partly because of the costumes, but also due to the resonance with the Washington geography, with Union Gap, Washington being not far from Yakima. Former country music artist, producer and songwriter Jerry Fuller heard them at the Quad Room, liked their sound, and signed them to Columbia Records. One of Fuller's first contributions for the band was writing Woman Woman, which they recorded on August 17, 1967. It was released in September and gradually rose in the US to reach number 4 on the Billboard Hot 100 by Christmas of that year. It was a dramatic breakthrough. Over 1968, the band had a remarkable run. Young Girl reached number 2 in the US, and number 1 in the UK. Lady Willpower was also another major hit. The albums Woman Woman, Young Girl, Incredible, and Union Gap, all released that year, performed strongly on the charts. Their sound was lushly produced, with strings, horns, choral backing, and delightful melodrama. Gary's vocal style was compared to Roy Orbison and Gene Pitney, emotive high drama, capable of both tenderness and power. In 1969, the hits continued with Over You, Don't Give In to Him, This Girl Is a Woman Now, and then towards 1970 with Let's Give Adam and Eve Another Chance. They became staples on television, multiple appearances on The Ed Sullivan Show, American Bandstand, The Tonight Show, and others. They also played high-profile gigs, including one memorable one at the White House lawn in July 1970, performing for President Nixon's daughter Tricia Nixon, Julie Eisenhower, and guests including Princess Anne and Prince Charles. Despite all this momentum, 5 studio albums, and gold records, cracks began to show. Disagreements over direction, artistic control, and music style would lead to tensions, especially as the music industry was shifting towards harder rock and more experimental forms. In 1971, the Union Gap disbanded. Gary had already signed a solo contract with Columbia and was ready to try other things. Gary's solo career began around 1970 while he was still with Union Gap, with his cover of Burt Bacharach's "I Just Don't Know What to Do With Myself" reaching number 61, and "Keep the Customer Satisfied" in 1971 also charting. He released a solo album, the Gary Puckett album, and several more singles, Life Has Its Little Ups and Downs, Hello Morning, and Bless the Child, in 1972, under Columbia before the major label era quieted down. In addition to recording, he branched into acting. In 1972 he appeared as a saloon cowboy in the TV western Alias Smith and Jones. In 1973 he starred in a low-budget indie film in the Philippines. These projects gave him experience beyond the recording studio and kept him in the public eye even as his chart success diminished. Over the following decades, Gary remained a concert draw, particularly in Europe, and occasionally charted again, with "Young Girl" re-entering UK charts in 1974 for example. In the 80s and 90s he returned to recording more regularly, releasing albums like Melody, in 1981, Love Me Tonight, in 1992, As It Stands, in 1995, Europa, in 1998, plus numerous live albums, compilations, best of collections, and Christmas albums. He also appeared on oldies tours, nostalgia shows, and television specials. On a personal note, Gary first married Shirley in 1979, later divorcing. On May 18, 2000, he married Laurie Hames, who had 2 daughters from a previous relationship, Sydney and Michaela. Though his marriages and family life have been less publicized than his stage persona, Gary has spoken in interviews about the importance of balancing performance, travel, and home life, and how he appreciates fans who have come along with him for decades. In recent years, Gary remains active. Residing in Clearwater, Florida, with his wife and family, he has released newer collections, live albums, and compilations. Some of his albums include Christmas and Live, both in 2001, and The Lost Tapes, in 2008, which are widely available. He still continues to tour to this day, especially in nostalgia circuits and festivals. He successfully completed a tour in February 2025 of Australia and further US dates, including Lima and Ohio in August. With millions of records sold worldwide, Gary's place in pop history is secure. His journey is one of talent, perseverance, and timeless music that continues to resonate across generations, to this very day. His legacy is proof that true artistry never fades, it only grows stronger with time. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos on your favorite music icons, just like this. Take care and bye for now.